I'm Maya Reed, and this is the moment I stopped being my family's ATM. Grab your popcorn. Because if your own family has ever taken your kindness, twisted it like cheap wire, and wrapped it around your neck, then you're about to feel this one in your bones. The moment it all snapped. I didn't plan to start a war with my own blood. But wars don't wait for your permission. Sometimes they start with a single sentence. Or a single smirk. Or, in my case, a handmade wooden gift being hurled into my daughter's face like trash. Yeah, trash. That's what my brother called it. But let me back up, because you need the full picture before the explosion. 3. My name is Maya Reed, 38, single mom, remote software engineer making $115,000 a year. Good money. Not billionaire money. But enough to keep the lights on, keep food in the fridge, and apparently enough to keep my entire family's lifestyle glued together for 8 straight years. I paid my parents' rent. I covered their groceries. And I loaned my brother $70,000 to open a pottery shop in Tucson's tourist district, using his 2019 BMW as collateral. For years, I thought I was helping. I thought I was doing what good daughters do. Turns out, I was just their personal ATM. And ATMs don't have feelings. Until one day they do. The rotten seed. You ever notice how family manipulation doesn't come all at once? It comes slow. Drip by drip. 100 tiny, can you just? 1,000 just this once. And then suddenly you're financing everyone's life, and nobody thanks you, because they think they deserve it. That was my life. My parents, Harold and Susan, always managed to be conveniently helpless. Dad's diabetes meds. Mom's part-time wages not stretching. Everything slipping just enough so it landed in my lap. And then there was Dylan. Golden boy of the family. At least, that's what my parents called him. I called him something else. A walking red flag in human form. He changed careers like normal people change. Passwords. Food trucks. Vape shops. Detail service. A microbrewery idea. And then the pottery dream. It was 6 years ago. I was 2 years into my divorce. I was just learning how to breathe again. Lily, only 10 then, sat in the living room coloring desert flowers. And Dylan waltzed in like he owned the place, waving a glossy folder like it was a winning lottery ticket. Maya, this is it, he said. My break. Inside were photos of hand-thrown mugs, desert-inspired planters, tourist bait designs. Zarts, Spritzhits, Projektions. He practiced this pitch. A lot. Startup costs $70K, break even in 18 months, profit margins 30% minimum. He talked so fast his words almost tripped over each other. I wanted to believe him. And he knew it. Family helps family, he said. Hook. Line. Sinker. 1 week later, we were signing papers in Lane Foster's office. Loan agreement. BMW as collateral. $1,400 monthly principal. Dylan signed with so much confidence, I thought maybe this time something would stick. He drove off blasting music, waving like a kid on Christmas. And for the first 6 months, it actually looked like I made the right choice. Payments hit on time. Shop photos filled my phone. Tourists loved his desert bloom collection. Instagram grew. He was smiling, laughing, alive. For once I thought, maybe he'll actually grow up. Spoiler alert. He didn't. The slide. It started with 1 missed payment. Then 2. Then 3. Excuses came faster than bills. Clay prices doubled. Supply chain sis. Tourist season slow. You know how it is. But I didn't know how it was. Because when I drove to his shop unannounced, the front door was locked. Lights off. Dust on shelves. I found him at a bar patio drunk by 2 p.m. He told me, relax. It'll bounce back. It didn't. Meanwhile, the $1,300 rent for my parents kept draining from my checking account right on time. I told myself I was doing the right thing. That family comes first. That. Dylan just needed time. But deep down, I was tired. Tired of being everyone's oxygen mask. Then came the birthday party. The moment everything snapped in half. It was supposed to be simple. Lily had spent 4 months, carving a wooden box for her uncle's birthday. She saved allowance money for brass hinges. She sanded it smooth. She burned his name into the lid. She was so excited to give it to him that she dragged me to the car. We arrived at Harold and Susan's house. Same cracked sidewalks, same faded flamingos, same smell of old cigarette smoke leaking from somewhere. The yard was full of people. Cousins I hadn't seen in years. Neighbors. Music blasting. Beer flowing. Lily walked right up to Dylan, holding that beautiful wooden box like a jewel. "Happy birthday, Uncle Dylan." He looked down, lifted the lid, sneered. "What's this? Junk." And then, before I could blink, he threw it into her face. It hit her cheek. Hard. Metal scraping skin. Lily stumbled. Blood pooled at the corner of her lip. Silence fell for half a second. Then, my parents laughed. Actually laughed. Dad. Kids always making trinkets. Mom, she'll be fine. A cousin recorded it. Group chat blew up with laughing emojis. And that was it. That second was the moment I stopped being the family doormat. I knelt beside Lily, picked up the broken box, and everything inside me finally went cold. I didn't scream. I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I just took a picture of Dylan's BMW, parked crooked on the lawn, and typed one sentence in the family group chat. "From today, you're on your own." I hit send. Phones buzzed. Dylan's head whipped toward me. "You're joking." I wasn't. I grabbed Lily's hand, walked out, and didn't look back. On the drive home, her small voice broke through the quiet. "Mom, why do they hate me?" My throat burned. But I told her the truth. They don't. They just don't know how to L. I didn't explain. I just took a picture of Dylan's BMW, parked crooked on the lawn, and typed one sentence in the family group chat. "From today you're on your own." I hit send. Phones buzzed. Dylan's head whipped toward me. "You're joking." I wasn't. I grabbed Lily's hand, walked out, and didn't look back. On the drive home, her small voice broke through the quiet. "Mom, why do they hate me?" My throat burned. But I told her the truth. They don't. They just don't know how to love right. She nodded, pressing a tissue to her cheek. And that was the last time we attended anything related to that family. That night, I opened my banking app. My thumb hovered over the autopay for my parents' rent. 8 years of being their safety net. 8 years of excuses. 8 years of guilt. I clicked disable. A confirmation pinged. Then I blocked every family group chat. Peace, for the first time, tasted like air. The next morning, I woke up to an email from Lane Foster, the loan officer. Subject line: Notice of default, Dylan Reed. 30 days left. Half already gone. I forwarded the notice to Lane's repo contact. Pickup scheduled for 10 a.m. You ever watch a man lose the one thing he values more than his family? It's strangely quiet. The repo. At 9:45 a.m. my phone buzzed. Repo live feed. I clicked it. There was Dylan pacing in front of his pottery shop. Hair a mess, shirt wrinkled, shouting into his phone. The repo truck rolled up. 2 guys hopped out. Dylan lunged. They clipped the BMW in under 3 minutes. Tourists watched. Recorded. Posted. The car lifted, tires dangling. Dylan chased the truck down the block screaming. I didn't feel guilty. Not even a little. That night he left voicemails. Angry. Begging. Threatening. I deleted all of them. Lily slept with her desk lamp on. And I realized every storm I avoided was waiting for me in one place. My family. 2 days later, the pottery shop got a 3-day pay or quit notice. Power cut. Kiln cold. Shelves empty. His business collapsed like wet clay. Meanwhile, Harold and Susan were now 30 days from eviction. Their rent had never come from them, only from me. And when they realized the autopay was off, they didn't call to apologize. They called to accuse. You're abandoning us. You're heartless. Your father's insulin isn't free. They weren't wrong. Insulin wasn't free. But neither was my peace. And I chose peace. The calls escalated. Threats. Manipulation. Guilt. 3 weeks later, 1 a.m., pounding shook my front door. Lily bolted upright, eyes wide. She scrambled into her closet. Heart pounding through her shirt. I checked the ring feed. Dylan. Drunk. Swaying. Yelling. You ruined my life. Open the door. I called 911. Police arrived in 4 minutes. Arrested him for disorderly conduct. Bodycam footage filed. Restraining order issued by noon. 200 yards. No contact. He violated it the next night. Another fine. Another warning. Another mask off. Lily started therapy. I installed smart locks. She slept with her lamp on every night. For a month. Then came the moment I knew my parents were just like him. 4:45 p.m. on a Wednesday. My office building's exit rush. Security radios crackled. 2 people blocking the gate. I checked the lobby monitor. Harold and Susan. Holding a cardboard sign. Ungrateful daughter. Coworkers stopped. Recorded. Snickered. HR filed a cease and desist. My parents signed it 2 days later. 1 month later. Eviction notice. Sheriff lockout. Uholodid. House emptied. Keys returned. They moved into a Motel 6. Still they never apologized. Food stamps. Dollar store shifts. Dylan delivering Uber Eats in a beat-up Civic. My parents drifting between motels. And then out of nowhere 1 year later, a letter. Dylan's handwriting shaky. 3 pages of apologies. Excuses. Begging. Dad may lose his foot. We need a specialist. Please give us one more chance. Lily glanced at the letter. Said nothing. I folded it. Dropped it into the trash. And wrote a postcard. We are no longer family. No signature. Just truth. We moved north. Quiet neighborhood. Citrus trees. Sunsets over Catalina foothills. New locks. New routines. New peace. Lily built a woodworking bench in the garage. 1 second place at the county fair. I got promoted. Stock options. Flex hours. We healed. We grew. We laughed. For the first time in years, we were safe. I wish I could tell you things got better after that night. But anyone who's lived through a long-term betrayal knows. It never stops at one wound. People like my brother don't quit after the first hit. They keep pushing until something breaks. And in my case, that something was me. Let me take you right back into it. The morning after the birthday party, I woke up with swollen eyes, a sore throat, and that awful dull ache you get after crying yourself to sleep. Lily was already awake, sitting cross-legged on the couch, coloring quietly, pretending she hadn't seen the fight between me, Dylan, and our father. Her innocence only made the pain worse. Then my phone buzzed. Dad. A single message. Don't make yesterday a big deal. You embarrassed your mother. Apologize today. I read it twice, 3 times, waiting for some hidden warmth or compassion to appear. Nothing. No, how are you? No, let's talk. No acknowledgement that my daughter had been humiliated. Just a command. It was the moment I realized something shocking. They were all trained to protect Dylan. And to correct me. I put the phone down and whispered, almost involuntarily. Not anymore. I didn't know what would come next. I didn't have a plan. But something in me shifted that morning, from survival to awareness. And once you become aware of injustice, you can never go back to tolerating it silently. 3 days pass quietly. Too quietly. In dysfunctional families, silence isn't peace. It's pressure building. I was hoping Dylan would back off. Maybe feel some guilt. Maybe realize that he'd crossed a line. But people like him? They don't self-reflect. They retaliate. So one afternoon while I was at work, Dad called me again. His tone was cold, clipped, rehearsed. Maya, your brother needs help with his bills this month. You should step up. Step up? Like I hadn't been stepping up my whole damn life? I took a shaky breath. What bills? Dad lowered his voice, the way he always did before delivering an unreasonable request. His car payment and insurance. And he's behind on rent again. I froze. Dylan earned more money than me. Why was I suddenly expected to carry him financially? Because I'd stood up for my daughter. That's why. This wasn't about bills. This was punishment disguised as family responsibility. I said, Dad, I can't afford. He cut me off. Don't start. You're single. You have no one else to spend on. Family comes first. Family. The same word people weaponize when they want to control you. I felt heat rising in my cheeks. Dad, I said carefully. I take care of Lily alone. I pay my rent alone. I pay for everything without asking anyone for anything. He sighed dramatically. Always the victim. Always the martyr. Martyr. A word he loved. Because if I was the martyr, then they didn't have to face the truth about how they treated me. That was the call that broke the bridge between us. Not burned. Collapsed. 2 weeks later, another event came up. My mother's retirement dinner. I considered not going, but Lily begged me. Please, Mommy. I want Grandma to see my drawing. Her drawings were her love language. So I agreed. But I should have known better. We arrived at the restaurant looking presentable, hopeful even. But as soon as we walked in, I realized something was off. My father stood up, forcibly cheerful. Marlene, my mother, gave Lily a little pat on the shoulder, but when I leaned in for a hug, she turned away. Just turned. Like my presence annoyed her. My heart sank. Then I saw him, Dylan, at the center of the table, laughing loudly, playing host, his arm around his girlfriend Sierra, and on the chair next to him, a wrapped present meant for my mother, a painting that looked suspiciously like something Lily would draw for me, only polished, adult, perfectly shaded. Dylan noticed me staring and smirked. I knew you'd bail on giving a gift. Someone has to make up for it. I blinked. What are you talking about? Mom stepped in quickly, as if rehearsed. Dylan told us you refused to bring anything. He said you were angry about the birthday party. My jaw dropped. Lily looked up at me confused. Mommy, we made a card. And we had. A beautiful card. Handmade. Heartfelt. I took it out of my bag. But before I could give it to my mom, Sierra snatched it. Let me see. She opened it, read it with a raised eyebrow, then said loud enough for the entire table. Goo. But definitely not retirement level. My mother laughed. Actually laughed. Like ridiculing her granddaughter's effort was a harmless joke. I felt my spine stiffen. Something inside me whispered. Watch. Don't fight. Watch everything. Because this is how you gather evidence. So I didn't argue. I didn't ask for the card back. I simply said, Lily, sweetheart, we're not staying long. My father's face twisted in irritation. There she goes again, dramatic. I calmly placed my napkin down. No. I'm just done being insulted in front of my child. The whole table went silent. And right in that silence I saw it. Every single one of them had already chosen Dylan's side. Not because he was right, but because he was easy. He didn't challenge them. He didn't ask for respect. He didn't call out injustice. He played along. And I didn't. That was my crime. We left after 10 minutes. And that was the night I decided. Something had to change. But I wasn't going to yell. Or fight. Or beg them to see my perspective. No. I was going to change the entire system they used to control me. Quietly. Strategically. And permanently. Over the next few days, I replayed every year of my life like a film strip. The patterns became painfully clear. I was the caretaker. I was the reliable one. I was the emotional punching bag. Dylan was the golden child. My parents kept the peace by giving him everything. And I kept the peace by giving up everything. It wasn't random. It wasn't personal. It was a family hierarchy. The kind no one talks about. But everyone silently obeys. They didn't respect me because they didn't need to. I did everything for them. Until now. Because the moment you stop feeding a system, the system collapses. And I was about to starve theirs. You know that saying. It gets worse before it gets better. Oh, trust me. It got worse. About a month after the retirement dinner, I got a notice from my apartment office. A red envelope. Never good. Inside. Notice of rent delinquency. Payment overdue. My stomach dropped. I always paid my rent. Always. I logged into my bank app. And my heart stopped. Nearly $900 was missing. Gone. Vanished. At first, I thought it was an error. But then I checked the transaction details. An electronic transfer. Not from my account. From my mother's linked backup access she had insisted on years ago when I first moved out. She had withdrawn money from my savings. I called her instantly in a panic. Mom, did you take money from my account? She didn't even hesitate. Yes. Dylan needed help with rent. You weren't answering his messages. I felt the room spin. Mom, that money was for my rent. You had no right. She scoffed. Stop being dramatic. You can pay it back next month. Family helps each other. Family. Again with that word. My voice trembled. Why didn't you ask me? Why would you take it without permission? Her tone sharpened. Because you always say no. And Dylan actually needs it. There it was. The truth. Raw. Ugly. Undeniable. My needs did not exist to them. My child's needs did not exist to them. The only priority was Dylan. I hung up, sat on the floor, held my head, and that was the exact moment, the exact second, that the last thread holding me to them snapped. There's a special type of peace that comes when you finally accept. They will never be the family you needed, but you can become the protector you and your child deserve. And with that realization came something even more important. The beginning of my revenge. Not the petty kind. Not the movie kind. The real kind. The kind built on boundaries, strategy, and silence. The kind where you don't destroy people. You simply remove yourself so completely that their entire system collapses without you. In other words, I was done being useful. And when a scapegoat stops cooperating, the golden child suddenly loses his shine. I walked straight to my bank the next morning and removed my mother's access from every account. The banker asked, "Do you want to leave any emergency access?" I smiled. No, not anymore. Next, I opened a new account at a completely different bank. Then I changed my number. Then I blocked every single family member. No dramatica non se ment. No long text. No, I need space. No, I'm hurt and need you to see what you did. Just a clean cut. People like them don't respect conversations. They respect consequences. And I was finally delivering some. For the first time in my life, my phone was silent. Peaceful. Almost frighteningly so. But silence. Silence is where strength grows. Little did I know. This was only the beginning. Because the moment I disappeared from their lives, guess what happened? Their entire world, the one built on me, began to crack. And Dylan? Oh, Dylan was about to face the one thing he'd never experienced before. The weight of his own choices. It started with the voicemails. Dozens. Then hundreds. First from my mother. Maya, stop being ridiculous. Call us back. Then my father. This is childish. Pick up the phone. Then Sierra. This is so selfish of you. You're making Dylan look bad. But the best one? Oh, the best one was from Dylan himself. You could hear the panic. Maya, I need to talk to you. Things are complicated right now. Complicated? No. He was finally living without a safety net. Without someone to clean up his messes. Without someone to blame. But I didn't respond. I wasn't ready yet. This wasn't revenge. Not yet. This was the foundation. A quiet withdrawal of all the free labor, loyalty, emotional support, financial cushioning, and attention I'd been giving them my entire life. And once a narcissistic family system loses its scapegoat, they cannibalize each other. Which is exactly what they were going to do. But first, I needed a plan. A real plan. One that wouldn't just protect me, but would reclaim every ounce of control they'd stolen from me over the years. And I already knew where to start. With the one thing families like mine fear the most. Documentation. But that. The real beginning of the revenge. I didn't sleep for 2 nights after I cut them all off. Not because I regretted it, but because silence felt unfamiliar. For years, my life had been filled with noise, criticism, expectations, insults disguised as advice. Now, for the first time, there was nothing but quiet. And in that quiet, I found clarity. Revenge isn't rage. It's not yelling or fighting or trying to make someone feel the pain you felt. Real revenge is reclaiming everything they stole. Your peace, your boundaries, your power, and letting the consequences catch up to them on their own. And that's exactly what happened. A week after blocking them, my property manager called. Maya, I just wanted to check on you. Your rent is fully paid. I updated the records. I blinked. I paid it yesterday. No, she said gently. Someone else paid the late fees. And left a note. A note? She read it aloud. Please tell her I'm sorry. Please ask her to call me. Dr. Dylan. The man who thought Lily's handmade gift was trash. The man who laughed at humiliating us. The man who drained me financially for years. Now he was paying my late fees. But here's the thing. I didn't feel satisfaction. Not yet. Because I knew exactly what this meant. Dylan wasn't apologizing. He wasn't reflecting. He wasn't suddenly becoming a decent human. He was afraid. I wasn't answering. I wasn't fixing anything. And their carefully constructed, Maya will handle it system was collapsing. Good. Because step 1 of my revenge was silence. Step 2 was documentation. I spent that evening pulling records, bank statements, phone logs, screenshots of messages, calendar entries of every time they demanded money, notes about the birthday incident, notes about the retirement dinner humiliation, and the biggest one, the unauthorized withdrawal from my mother. I organized it all in a folder called Reclaiming My Life. Not because I wanted to expose them publicly, but because documentation gives you power. Clarity. It removes guilt because you can finally see your reality on paper. And once you see truth in writing, you can't unsee it. A few days later, I received an email from my landlord, forwarded from my parents. It said, "We're worried about Maya. She seems unstable. She hasn't been communicating with us. Can you please notify us if anything happens?" Unstable. This is what families like mine do. When you stop bowing, stop supporting, stop absorbing the damage, they immediately label you unstable. Because it's easier to call you crazy than to admit they've been abusive. I forwarded the email to a lawyer friend I'd met at work events. She replied in 1 minute. "This is harassment. And illegal. Commune." When I sat across from her in her office, she listened quietly as I explained everything. Every detail. Every wound. Every family obligation that drained me for years. Then she said, "Maya, do you understand how strong you are for breaking this cycle?" I didn't. Not until she showed me legally what they'd done. Unauthorized bank withdrawal? Illegal. Attempting to interfere with my housing by emailing my landlord? Illegal. Repeated financial dependency pressure and intimidation? Pattern of familial financial abuse. She looked me dead in the eyes. You owe them nothing. And you have grounds to protect yourself if they continue. I exhaled for what felt like the first time in years. Not relief. Validation. Because when you grow up in dysfunction, you don't recognize abuse as abuse. You recognize it as normal. And now I finally had proof it wasn't. My lawyer drafted a formal notice. Calm, professional, emotionless. It stated that all communication must go through her office, that I was not financially responsible for any family member, and that any attempt to access my accounts or interfere with my housing would result in legal action. Then she sent it. To all of them. My phone exploded that evening. Unknown numbers. Blocked IDs. Voicemails full of disbelief. Are you insane, Maya? You didn't have to escalate this. You're tearing the family apart. How could you do this to your brother? Do you want us homeless? Stop embarrassing us. Dylan is going through enough. My favorite one was from my mother. I raised you better. Where did this attitude come from? Where? From decades of being silent while they walked over me. From humiliations I swallowed so deeply they still burned inside me. From the moment Lily watched her uncle throw her handmade gift into the grass. That's where. I didn't respond to any of them. Not one. The next day my lawyer called. They received the notice. Their attorney responded. Their attorney? So they were lawyering up. Good. Finally they were dealing with someone who didn't play by family manipulation rules. Their lawyer claimed it was all a misunderstanding, and that my mother withdrawing money was out of concern. But here's the thing. I didn't care about the excuses. I cared about the boundary. And now the boundary was legally documented. That's when the real fallout began. Because without me to absorb the impact, they started turning on each other. My cousin called me one night. Have you talked to your parents? Dylan is losing it. He missed his car payment. Sierra dumped him. Your dad yelled at him in front of the whole family at a gathering. I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. But then I remembered the way he smirked at Lily. The way he tried to push her behind me like she was trash. The way he enjoyed humiliating us. No. I felt nothing. I wasn't celebrating his suffering. I just wasn't rescuing him anymore. 2 weeks later, I received a formal apology letter. Typed. Cold. Probably written by their attorney, not by them. But the signature at the bottom? Dylan's shaky handwriting. The letter said, I regret any actions that may have caused emotional distress. I hope in time we can mend our relationship. Not, I'm sorry. Not, I was wrong. Just, I regret any actions that may have caused. The classic non-apology. I didn't respond. And something incredible happened next. For the first time in my life, I wasn't the one fixing things. I wasn't the mediator. I wasn't the scapegoat. They were forced to face each other. Their own dysfunction. Their own mess. And I was finally free. But freedom isn't the end of the story. It's the beginning of rebuilding. I spent my mornings taking Lily to the park. We ate breakfast together instead of rushing to deal with family drama. I took on more freelance work. My bank account grew. My stress melted. My home felt safe again. One evening, Lily crawled into my lap and whispered, Mommy, you smile more now. And I realized, she wasn't just watching me survive anymore. She was watching me live. A month later, I received a small box at my door with no return label. Inside was the card Lily made for my mother. The one Sierra called not retirement level. The one they laughed at. The one I never got back. On top was a sticky note. A single sentence in my mother's handwriting. I'm sorry. Not we're sorry. Not you misunderstood. Not family comes first. Just, I'm sorry. A private apology. The only kind that ever matters. I didn't call her. I didn't unblock her. I didn't break the boundary. But I smiled. Not because she apologized. But because I no longer needed it. True revenge isn't about making them hurt. It's about making yourself whole again. And watching them face the consequences of losing access to the very person who held everything together. Some people call that selfish. I call it justice. Because the day I finally chose myself, everything in my life changed. Lily changed. Our home changed. My confidence changed. My future changed. And my family? They learned a lesson I never had to teach with screaming or fighting or anger. They learned it through absence. Through losing the privilege of having me in their lives. Through watching their golden child collapse without his scapegoat. And that quiet, calm, unstoppable was my revenge. Not dramatic. Not vengeful. Not explosive. Just powerful. Juste permanent. Just mine. And if you're listening to this, wondering whether you should stand up, whether you should walk away, whether you should reclaim your life, let me tell you something I wish someone had told me years ago. You don't owe anyone the right to break you, even if they're family. You deserve peace. You deserve respect. You deserve love that doesn't wound. And once you decide to take your life back, no one can stop you. Not even the people who raised you. Not even the people who hurt you. Not even the people who benefited from your silence. Because once a woman finally understands her worth, every system built on her suffering collapses. Just like mine did. And that is the real ending. Not the apology. Not the collapse. Not the legal letters. The real ending is the freedom. And the beginning is whatever life you choose next. That's the story for today. Revenge isn't always about anger. It's about standing up for yourself, protecting those you love, and taking back control of your life. If this story gave you chills, don't forget to smash that like button. Make sure to subscribe to Inteqaar Stories for more real-life revenge stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Hit the bell icon too, so you're the first to know when a new story drops. Comment below. What would you have done in this situation? Share your thoughts, because every story deserves to be talked about. Thank you for watching. Stay strong, stay smart, and remember, your peace is priceless.